Thanks a lot for staying with CNN News 18. I'm Shivani Gupta. You just watched a snippet of the oath-taking ceremony of the new President of India today. But there is a fresh flashpoint between the centre and the opposition precisely on that ceremony that was held earlier today. Opposition parties have written a letter to Rajya Sabha Chairman claiming that LOP, Mallikarjun Kharge of the Congress party, was made to sit in a seat not commensurate with his position. The letter has been signed by opposition parties, including the TMC. Senior editor Pallavi Ghosh is also joining us for more on this. Pallavi, what exactly is the complaint and what has been the response from the government side?
See, just to get the system in place, normally what happens is the leader of the opposition or the leader of the other political parties are given the first or the second row. The Congress's allegation, which is there in that letter written by Jairam Ramesh, is that that was not the case. We only saw Sonia Gandhi, for example, on the first row, but we did not see Mallikarjun Kharge. But according to the government, it's the Chief Minister, the Prime Minister and the Cabinet who actually gets the precedence, and it's just issue being made out of a non-issue. That's at least what the government and the parliamentary ministry is telling us by way of sources. But Parliament often becomes a battleground for pot shots at each other, accusing and counter-accusation. And Shivani, this has always been the common line of the opposition, that the government doesn't allow us to speak, it muzzles our voice, it doesn't show us through the television cameras or either Lok Sabha TV or the Sansad TV for that matter. And of course, this being the latest case where you definitely and purposely humiliate a leader of the opposition.
Yes, and we're also highlighting where exactly Mallikarjun Kharge was sitting, Pallavi. It seems to be the front row. So I'm just trying to understand exactly what is the specific complaint that the Congress party and the opposition have made.
But what they are saying is, and what Congress is saying is, that he should have been made to sit next to where, say, Sonia Gandhi was sitting, because she was there by leader of the UPA chairperson, and therefore he should also have been given that position. And that's what I'm saying. The government is saying that this is an argument which does not cut ice. Their chief ministers were given priority, their cabinet colleagues were given priority, and of course the Prime Minister and the former President Pratibha Patil, who was also seen sitting next to the Prime Minister.
Anything more that you're picking up from Jairam Ramesh or the Congress party, besides this letter, Pallavi?
Shivani, I think it's very important that he stresses on the fact, including the TMC, and I think there's a reason why he's doing that. I mean, if you remember, in the backdrop of the TMC not supporting Margaret Alva for the vice presidential polls, there was this whole talk of opposition unity being broken. I think by way of this example, Jairam Ramesh is also trying to make the point that opposition unity is very much intact. I mean, there can always be arguments and counter-arguments on this, because on critical larger issues, the opposition is often not seen together. Should this be seen as that? But I think, having said that, the point is that the opposition certainly wants to make a larger point, that when it comes to us, we are not given the kind of respect which we deserve.
On a lighter note, Pallavi, is this also a sign of things to come, that things are going to continue to be stormy?
Oh yes, absolutely. If you go by what the Parliament last week has been, Shivani, I don't think the rest of the Parliament session is going to be calm. I mean, today itself also the Parliament has been repeatedly adjourned because there is a price rise notice, for example, which was given in the Rajya Sabha. So the government and the opposition certainly are loggerheads, and who pays the price for it? Well, the running of the Parliament smoothly.
Yeah. On the running of the Parliament, Pallavi, we're also picking up that Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla has actually come down very heavily on members bringing placards onto the floor of the House, and he seems to have given a warning that this is no longer going to be allowed.
There is a rule book of Parliament, and if you, I'm sure you know that, Shivani, there was a storm recently, but this is an old rule which was once again sent as a reminder. There are some no-nos. You can't come to the well of the House. You're not supposed to carry your banners, posters, newspapers, for that matter. That's absolutely not allowed. So far, very often, whoever's been in opposition, whether it was the Congress in power at the centre or the BJP in power at the centre, the opposition has often got away with. In some cases, we've seen where opposition leaders and MPs, like last time round the TMC, they were suspended from the entire session of the House. I think this time round the Speaker, the Vice President have made it abundantly clear that, we are open for debates and discussions, but these rules will have to be followed. Whether this is going to be followed out by the Speaker himself by suspending the presence of these MPs, we'll have to wait and watch for that.
Just, before I let you go, Pallavi, even as the Congress and other opposition parties have made a truck in complaining about the seat given to Mallikarjun Kharge, is this something that they're going to register as a protest just via this letter, or is this something they plan to take ahead, and if at all, then how?
Well, I mean, they have sent the letter, so I think at some point of time they do expect a response coming in from the chairperson, and I'm sure they would want to follow it up once the Parliament or Rajya Sabha reconvenes and hammer at the fact that, you know, our voices are being muzzled, whether it's on the use of certain words, whether it's the right to protest and, you know, kind of hold those debates and discussions, and also the larger point that whenever we give notices for debates and discussions on key issues, that's never acknowledged by the chair. And I think added on to this will be this point that there is a systematic campaign being run by the Parliament, by the government, to humiliate the opposition MPs.
All right, Pallavi, thanks a lot for joining us and giving us more on that. I'm shifting attention